Good evening. I would like to welcome you to the September 17th, 2024 School Board meeting. The time is now 6 p.m. The School Board would like to take a moment to respectfully acknowledge that we are residing on the traditional land of the Dene people. Our mission is to provide an excellent and equitable education and a safe, supportive environment so that all students will succeed and contribute to a diverse and changing society. Ms. Marati, would you lead us in the pledge? Ms. Richardson, would you please call the roll?
Miss Charlie?
Here.
Mr. Shannon?
Here.
Colonel Cole?
Here.
Colonel Foster?
Here.
Mr. Burgess?
Here.
Mrs. Burnett?
Here.
Mr. Doran?
Here.
Miss Maple?
Here.
Marati?
Here.
Sanderson?
Here.
Hardy?
Here.
Thank you. The board has a quorum.
The next item is the 2024 ASAA First National Bank of Alaska Track and Field State Championship recognition. One student from West Valley High School placed first in a single event. West Valley coach Grubus will make the presentation.
It's a former coach and former teacher. So Curtis Beck is now our state champion in the 400 meters, ran it in 49 seconds and 36 hundredths of a second. And he's also has the record for West Valley now. So the fastest anyone has ever ran before at West Valley. So Curtis went to Pearl Creek Elementary School, and then he was homeschooled, and then he was on our running team at West Valley. And I said, you know, Curtis, you want to be an engineer, you better take my calculus class. And so he took me up on that. He takes challenges. And so he took my calculus class, and now he's at UAF studying engineering on the UAF running team and working as an intern for Raytheon. So we have amazing students in this community. We should be very proud of them and celebrate them. And Curtis is an example of a Fairbanks, I was going to say kid, but he's a young adult now, that, you know, the sky's the limit. So I'm very proud of him. Let's take all hands. Oh, let me give him this to you too.
Before we do the adoption of the agenda, I would like to move without objection consent item C6, which is fundraising, from the agenda. The administration has asked for additional time to gather information on this item before it is considered for a vote. Seeing no objection, it is removed from the agenda. The next item on our agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Consent items marked with an asterisk are considered routine items not requiring public discussion by the school board. Unless moved from the consent agenda, asterisk items will be automatically approved when the agenda is adopted. Questions concerning these items should be directed to the administration before the meeting. May I have a motion?
Move to adopt the agenda with consent items.
Second.
Ms. Richardson, would you please call the vote?
Colonel Foster?
Yes.
Colonel Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Shannon?
Yes.
Miss Charlie?
Yes.
Mr. Burgess?
Yes.
Burnett,
Yes.
Mr. Doran,
Yes.
Miss Maple,
Yes.
Maradi,
Yes.
Mrs. Sanderson,
Yes.
Hardy.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried.
The next item on our agenda is public comments on reports and non-agenda items. During this section of the agenda, the school board welcomes public comments on non-agenda topics. This is an opportunity for our community members to be heard. The board will note topics, though no official action will be taken. Topics may be referred to the administration for further research and future potential actions. Board members will not respond to comments or questions made by the public. Concerned citizens should first discuss matters with the superintendent or designee. After the superintendent or designee has heard the concerns, they may be brought to the board. Individual students and district personnel may not be discussed in public testimony. Please contact the district office to route concerns about individual students or district personnel through the appropriate channels. Members of the public will be given an opportunity to speak on agenda items at the time that item is introduced for action and/or discussion. Once an agenda is published, testifiers should email or call the school board office by 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting to sign up for public testimony. Students who have signed up in advance or are in the room wishing to testify will be called upon first, followed by members of the public who have signed up in advance in the order in which they have signed up. If time remains, anyone else in person will be invited to testify until the 1-hour time limit has been reached. The sign-up sheet is available in the boardroom before the start of the meeting for those who have not already signed up in advance. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each and should provide their first name, spell their last name, and state their area of residence. Before we begin, I would just like to flag 2 changes that you might have caught as I was reading that. Through board discussion during one of our work sessions, we decided that we wanted to prioritize student voices because they need to get home and get to bed. So we're going to welcome students that want to testify up first so that they are able to leave at the beginning. Currently, we don't have any students signed up to testify, but if there's one in the room who would like to, you will be able to come up first. The other one is the board will no longer be asking questions. When you come up to testify, you will have your 3 minutes and you will be thanked for your testimony, but we will no longer be asking clarifying questions. Are there any students in the room who would like to come and testify? Not seeing any takers, we're going to move on to our pre-signed up testimony. First, we have on Zoom, Miss Judith Greneau.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Great. My name is Judith Gruneau, G-R-U-N-A-U, and I live in Coldstream Valley. Good evening, everyone. My comments tonight are not specifically for school board members alone, but also for all Fairbanks community members. I would like to take a moment to emphasize the importance of kindness, respect, and civility during the public comment section of these meetings. This time is a critical opportunity for community members to share their thoughts, but we must remember to speak to others as we want to be spoken to. We encourage our children to engage in calm, civil discussion. When they face disagreements, we teach them to listen, to be respectful, and to resolve conflicts without resorting to hurtful behavior. However, what kind of example are we setting for them as adults when we fail to practice what we preach? Public comment should be a place for constructive dialogue, not a platform for spreading hatred, engaging in personal attacks, or spreading misinformation. Many people say they love all people, but the fruit of their spirit and their actions do not reflect this. If we want a kinder, more respectful community, it starts with us. It starts with how we speak to and about one another, especially in public spaces. Disrespecting our elected board members or those present in this room not only diminishes the conversation, but also erodes trust within our community. We all have the right to voice our opinions, but let's try to do this with kindness and respect. Let's hold ourselves to the same standard we expect of our children. Disagree without being disagreeable. Together, we can create an environment where all voices are heard and where civil discourse prevails. In addition to practicing kindness and civility, it is equally important that we approach these discussions from a place of informed understanding. Many of the concerns raised during public comment stem from assumptions rather than facts. I urge everyone who wishes to speak to do thorough research on the issues they are addressing. Many of our community members have not set foot in our schools recently and may not be aware of the tremendous effort our teachers and staff put into ensuring that all children are treated equally, feel safe and accepted, and receive a high quality education, despite the very real challenge of working with a very inadequate budget. There are many misconceptions circulating, like the assumption that the Pledge of Allegiance is no longer being recited in schools, when in fact, I know that my children say this in their school. Similarly, some believe that specific controversial topics are being taught, but these assumptions are not aligned with the reality of what is being taught in our classrooms. It's also important to acknowledge that many who voice these concerns do not currently have children attending public school in our borough. While all voices are valid, it's crucial to base opinions on accurate and up-to-date information. We owe it to ourselves, our teachers, and most importantly to our students to speak from a place of understanding rather than from rumors or misinformation. Let's engage in these conversations responsibly by ensuring that we are well informed, setting an example for the next generation
I'm
about how
sorry,
to have productive.
that's your time.
That's good. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Miss Heidi Wood.
Heidi Wood, OOD. I live off Belane in the Pearl Creek district. So first of all, I want to thank you guys for your perseverance, your resilience, and your presence. You guys have committed yourselves to serving our community and our children, and for that we are deeply indebted to you. Thank you for being here. Secondly, I want to highlight what a joy it is to see hundreds of kids participating in the elementary running club activities. As a physical therapist, I am a firm believer in lifelong health, wellness, fitness, and exercise. It is a wonderful demonstration of these things when attending events, and I see many of you there. Pearl Creek has 130 runners this year, and the program is full. The fearless Christina Turman leads us, and it is an awesome experience for both the kids and the parents. It's pretty amazing. Perhaps they are the next state champion. Thirdly, I do have to mention the significant proposed hike in insurance cost for our esteemed employees of the district. We are already lacking in educators and support staff. We are now pricing them out of education. Many of these people who we trust with our children every day will no longer be able to afford to keep their jobs. This has to change. We need educators. You all know that. People can't live off the goodness of their hearts. They need to be paid and have the benefits they deserve for the work that they do. After all, as many of you know and have been there, it is the hardest work on the planet, and I, for one, could not do it. Lastly, I want to encourage you to hold fast to the knowledge that you are all elected because of your commitment, your creativity, and your ingenuity. Use those ideals as you move forward to sort out some really sticky topics and situations and how best to support both our employees and our children. Thank you each for being here.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Miss Danielle Logan.
Good evening, President Hardy and members of the school board. My name is Danielle Logan, and I reside in Fairbanks. I did not think I'd be up here testifying up until budget season. Guess I thought wrong. On Friday, September 6th at 2:58 p.m., Dr. Meinert sent an email out with our new healthcare numbers for January 2025. I'm not often at a loss for words, but this email took my breath away for almost an hour. I was in shock. But I did not overreact. I did not throw a fit. I thought of all the ways it is not only going to affect me, but all ESSA staff and all the other staff. Last year, when ESSA agreed to the new negotiated agreement, we were aware that healthcare was going to go up. When asked by how much, we were told between 8 and 10%. Now healthcare is more than that. We were asked if we wanted healthcare or a raise. I would like to think all your employees would like to make a living wage without working a second or third job. The 4% raise that ESSA got, while historically strong, did not even keep up with inflation. When I looked at Plan C for employee and spouse, this is what I have now. It's going to be more than double what I pay now, which comes out to another car payment for me. So I'm being asked to choose food, heating fuel, electricity, and water. What can I do to keep our insurance, pay my bills, pay my car payment, and our mortgage, and fill the gas tank? I'll have to ask myself, do I want to pay this new increase or make almost no money? Or should I quit and find a more affordable option? I'm resilient. I will continue to work a second job and put my health aside once again. Not many employees are able to, and I honestly shouldn't. However, what I would like you to know and remember that our halftime employees, our nutrition service employees who work 4 hours will pay double what is proposed. And we'll end up owing the school district. Yes, we are back at the bargaining table. I understand everyone wants this done by open enrollment. Please don't ask us to agree to anything just to get this done. And please don't ask us to give up the HRSA, HRA. That offsets some of the costs of our high deductibles. I hope that everyone can work together in this matter and make it better. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. We have Miss Cynthia Wozniak.
Hi again. My name's Cynthia Wozniak, Wozniak, longtime Fairbanks resident. I'm here today to speak truth, God's truth, His word, that is alive and active and sharper than a double-edged sword that divides soul and spirit, joints and marrow, and knows the thoughts and intents of the heart. I believe and know the power of our spoken word. I start by sharing what God says about this battle and every battle, that the battle is the Lord's, and that we can't reason with spirits and darkness. We have to extinguish the darkness with light, with Him. He is the light, and He is the word. He instructs us to bind, pull down, and cast them out. So in the name and power of Jesus and with His instruction, I bind, pull down, and cast out every sexualizing spirit that have been let in our schools and community and city, pornography, porn books, sexually explicit books, homosexuality, gay, lesbian, queer spirits, LGBTQ spirits, transgender spirits, all evil spirits, all perverse spirits, all anti-God spirits, anti-Semitic, all anti-white, anti-Christian, anti-American, anti-men, biological males and biological female restrooms / locker rooms, and vice versa, lying spirits against parental rights, telling the kids, students, do not tell your parents, etc. And I bind, pull down, and cast out all antichrist spirits and satanic spirits out of all our schools, cities, communities, states, and United States, by which God has placed us and given to us to steward with His governing spirit of holiness and righteousness. Now I loose Holy Spirit and His tangible presence in Fairbanks and Alaska schools, cities, and communities, and states across our great nation. Father, forgive us for yielding to and letting in and serving all these other spirits, and help us now to be diligent to only welcome Holy Spirit and serve only Holy Spirit and no other spirits. Now we take back our schools and communities and cities and states and make them safe for our children and communities in the mighty power and name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen and amen. And that means so be it.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Lou Frenzel.
My name is Lou Frenzel. I live in Fairbanks. I stand in support of recognizing LGBTQ History Month and Indigenous Peoples Day. As a proud Two-Spirit person, I would have been so positively impacted by such recognition in my youth. Honoring Indigenous Peoples Day corrects a profound historical imbalance, shifting focus from settlers who arrived a few hundred years ago to the vibrant cultures that have thrived here since time immemorial. As someone who grew up feeling very deeply the real erasure of Native peoples from history books, I know recognition of Indigenous Peoples Day is crucial to Native students' well-being. In regard to LGBTQ history, I've heard many argue, why should these people get a whole month dedicated to them? The answer is, every day out of the entire year, year after year, the world is dedicated to straight and cis stories. What we're exposed to in school as queer and gender nonconforming people overwhelmingly lacks our experiences. Straight and cis identifying people have been veritably immersed for generations in representation. Stories of quote unquote traditional nuclear families abound, as do stories of romance, of leadership, and of general biographical interest. Demanding that stories falling outside of these norms be kept out of the classroom is to demand the socio-emotional segregation of children who in their hearts know that they are not represented by these norms, and that is unacceptable. We must not perpetuate the othering of LGBTQ youth. We must instead cultivate schools, environments that welcome and normalize the developmental experiences of marginalized youth who in fact exist and have always existed, just as we cultivate ideal environments for the majority. While we may be seeing a long overdue increase in representation in the media, what does it say to our children if TV shows recognize their humanity but their own school districts do not? Research has shown that representation helps alleviate the feelings of loneliness and isolation that queer youth often experience, and a school district that provides representation is one that demonstrates that it cares for all of its students and families. Lastly, I address consent. Sharing photos of school board members without consent constitutes harassment. The recent incident in the last meeting was unacceptable and disciplinary action should be taken. Forcing non-consenting individuals, including minors, to view stolen images is the true offense, not that the image exists in the first place. Thank you, school board, for protecting your members.
Thank you for your testimony. Have Miss Nikki Eisman.
Good evening. I was a parent volunteer for 17 years when my kids were in school in our district. I run into adults now who are like, you taught in my school. It's like, no, I just volunteered a lot. Anyway, now I'm getting to start out all over again as a volunteer grandparent. Last year, I volunteered in my granddaughter's kindergarten class whenever a big project required extra adult hands. And this year, I filled out the volunteer form and now can help when kids are on field trips or away from the classroom for other reasons. And yesterday, I too got to help with running club. And I can't imagine anything better. Hundreds of kids, scores of volunteers, all running through the woods, getting the best of a beautiful Fairbanks fall day. This may be my last meeting with the current school board configuration, and I could start to cry already. So I want to thank Erin Marotti and Choya Sanderson for their years of service. You've each been the perfect example of what elected officials should be, bringing both your expertise and your heart to the dais. Erin, with your deep understanding of finance, always asking just one more question that did indeed need to be asked. And Choya, helping us all to a deeper understanding through your years of classroom experience. So thank you both. You will be missed. And I've no doubt you'll enjoy having your Tuesday nights back. I also want to take a moment to talk about our community, our schools, and how we present ourselves during testimony. I love this town. It raised me. It raised my children. Like every community, it faces challenges, sometimes more than others. We have elected leaders to be our voices. I urge all those who testify to speak with respect, not anger, to verify rumor before accusing. On occasion, I've testified here and at the Borough Assembly in frustration, and I know that I may have sounded kind of scoldy because I felt scoldy. In retrospect, I realize that speaking my mind in testimony, even when I'm upset about something, should always be done with the assumption that my elected leaders are working with me to address our common concerns. So much hatred has been spewed at all of you from this seat, and it's time for it to end. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next online, we have Ms. Liz Reeves Ramos.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay, great. Liz Reeves Ramos, that's R-E-E-V as in Victor, E-S hyphen R-A-M-O-S. And I live on Chena Hot Springs Road. Today, I wanted to talk about the importance of two significant resolutions that were on the consent agenda, LGBT History Month in October and Indigenous Peoples Day, which we celebrate on the second Monday of the month. Both these resolutions are vital in our schools because they challenge us. I'm going to pause. This is my own personal opinion and does not represent my employer or any elected offices that I hold. Sorry. Both of these resolutions are vital in our schools because they challenge us to think about the histories, struggles, and contributions of groups that have been marginalized for far too long. LGBTQ plus History Month gives us the opportunity to recognize the contributions of LGBTQ plus individuals who have helped shape society, often in the face of discrimination and adversity. Throughout history, the voices and accomplishments of people within the LGBTQ plus community have been overlooked or erased. This month allows us to spotlight pioneers like Marsha P. Johnson, a key figure in the Stonewall Uprising, and Harvey Milk, one of the first openly gay elected officials in the U.S. Speaking about openly gay elected officials in the U.S., we have Erin Marotti, Meredith Maple, and Ashley Carrick, who are all locally elected officials right here representing us in our borough. Their courage in the face of hostility helped pave the way for greater equality, acceptance, and understanding. By learning these histories, we create a more inclusive school environment where all students feel seen, valued, and respected. It's a reminder that diversity is not something to tolerate, it's something to celebrate. Similarly, Indigenous Peoples Day is a time for us to reflect on the rich cultures, histories, and contributions of Native peoples who have lived on this land long before colonization. For centuries, Indigenous communities have endured colonization, displacement, and cultural erasure. Yet their resilience has kept their traditions, languages, and stories alive. Figures like Elizabeth Petrovich and modern leaders like Deb Holland, and in our Alaskan representatives in state and federal office, Maxine Dybert and Mary Peltola. These show us that Indigenous peoples are not just a part of history, they are essential to our present and our future. This day is important in school because it allows us to correct the misconceptions of history and honor the true and rich legacies of Native communities. It pushes us to move beyond outdated narratives and celebrate the strength and survival of Indigenous peoples. These two observances are important because they help broaden our understanding of the world and of each other. Schools are places of learning, but they are also places of belonging. By celebrating LGBTQ plus History Month and Indigenous Peoples Day, we honor the identities, histories, and contributions of groups that deserve recognition and respect. When we make room for these stories, we help build a community where all students feel valued and where the diversity of experiences and identities is embraced. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Tristan Wagner, and I believe they are online.
I do not see them online.
Okay, if they pop back up, let us know. We will go on to Casey Casort.
Thank you. My name is Casey Casort, C-A-S-O-R-T. I'm a lifelong Fairbankson testifying on behalf of myself. I graduated from Chinook, from West Valley, class of 2017, and from UAF in 2020. I am testifying in support of the resolutions 2025-04 and 2025-06, recognizing LGBTQ History Month and Indigenous Peoples Day. But first, I want to thank the board for your labor in service to our district. There have been some really rude testimonies recently to the school board as well as to our assembly, and it's embarrassing to have neighbors like that. I know I don't agree with each of you on everything, but I see you all showing up to these meetings and to work sessions and following these public processes for reviewing curriculum and generally serving our district, and I thank you for that. Last year, a different makeup of the Fairbanks School Board voted to remove all LGBTQ representation and information about consent from the new middle and high school health textbooks. The resolution to recognize LGBTQ+ History Month would be just one way to show queer and trans students and staff that despite everything else, they are valuable members of the community. The U.S. National Public Health Agency released data last year that concluded 1 in 4 high school students identifies as something other than heterosexual. When I was in high school, I participated in National History Day. I had a really amazing teacher who gave us a lot of ideas for possible topics, including Bayard Rustin, the gay man who organized the March on Washington, where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave his infamous "I Have a Dream" speech. I was really passionate about my project, and I took it all the way to the national competition, and it was my first time visiting Washington, D.C. Encouraging students to research and connect with LGBT history is a gateway to opportunities, because when we see ourselves in history, we care about those stories, and that's when creative and deep learning happens. Although the LGBT History Month resolution doesn't require staff to do anything beyond sort of vaguely promoting a community where all students and staff feel supported, I'm glad to see that the resolution to recognize Indigenous Peoples Day is much clearer about how staff in the district might go about honoring the day, including offering assistance with resources from the Alaska Native Education Program. I fully support both of these resolutions, and I hope the board will move forward with passing both towards the goal of supporting all our students as whole people with many intersecting identities.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Francis Wozniak. I'm not seeing them come forward. I'm here. Okay. Next, then, we have Gail McBride.
My name is Gail McBride, McBride, live in Fairbanks, and I'm happy to hear the board discussing misinformation, although no explanation of what they're considering misinformation. I will trust the school board is more interested in identifying what this is and correcting it than the DEI committee is. I'll read some true information that is critical to our students' health and safety. An article by Christopher Rufo, and I'll read portions of it. The transgender movement is pressing its agenda everywhere. Most publicly, activist teachers are using classrooms to propagandize on its behalf, and activist health professionals are promoting the mutilation of children under the euphemistic banner of gender-affirming care. The sudden and pervasive rise of this movement provokes two questions. Where did it come from, and how has it proved so successful? Of course, I can't read the whole article to explain all of that. Lurie Children's Hospital, through its outreach presentations in Chicago public schools, encourages teachers and school administrators to support gender diversity in their districts, automatically affirm students who announce sexual transitions, and communicate a non-binary understanding of gender to children in the classroom. The objective, as one version of the presentation suggests, is to disrupt the entrenched gender norms in Western society and facilitate the transition to a more gender-creative world. School districts are encouraged to designate gender support coordinators to help facilitate children's sexual and gender transitions, which, under the recommended confidentiality policy, can be kept secret from families and parents. As I have previously detailed in City Journal, the process for robot-assisted vaginoplasty is gruesome. The castration business is booming. They are condemning legions of children to a lifetime of sorrows and medical necessities, all based on dubious postmodern theories that do not meet the standard of first, do no harm. This information I have sent to the board over the summer about gender ideology and so-called gender-affirming care has been ignored to the detriment of children. The health curriculum is still full of it. I hear of teachers using and talking to their students about pronoun usage. This is a travesty, and we see no one in our school district taking seriously the grooming and predatory behavior being perpetrated on the children.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Hannah Harp. Next, we have Sydney Mullen.
Hi, my name is Dr. Sydney Mullen, Mullen, and I live off of Gold Hill, and I am testifying on behalf of myself. I am a mom to 3 young kids here in Fairbanks, and I just want to say how happy I am with our local elementary school. My kid is at University Park. He transitioned from preschool this year, so very excited. But it also has been an emotional transition for me since he's my oldest, and big feelings, mostly for me, a little bit my husband, and kind of trying times for my kid who's, learning to navigate what it means to sit down and be still for large portions of the day. But the whole process of navigating the elementary school system for the first time has been made so much easier by the transparency and support of the school, like the front desk staff, the teacher, and the principal as well, because I've been able to speak with her. It's just been so lovely. And I have been able to very easily communicate with the front desk staff when I have questions or concerns. People have just been so nice to work with, and especially reassuring for a first-time elementary school mom like me, who has been a bit worried and anxious about things because my son is special and he has specific needs that I feel like, and that need to be addressed. The Parent Square app has been such a wonderful resource. I've been thrilled with that. It has facilitated a direct line of communication with my son's teacher, which has just been, again, just a godsend for us. Not only does the teacher send a weekly newsletter detailing what the kids are learning each week, but I'm also able to directly message her, which I have been able to use, and it's worked really well. So that's been great for me because during preschool, or at preschool, I'm able to walk in and talk directly to preschool teachers, but it's different in elementary school. I don't have that, daily interaction with the teacher. So this has been a nice way for us to communicate as things pop up. My son does have an IEP for speech therapy, and we have been using resources at University Park, where my kid goes to school, since he was 4 in preschool. And again, the support from the staff has just been phenomenal. We have gotten tons of great resources from his speech therapist. She's incredibly knowledgeable, and we've been thrilled with his progress. And again, that transparency and that direct line of communication. They've also provided resources for us for how to best assist him in his progress with his speech. I'm just so happy that my son is in safe, caring, and knowledgeable hands within the Fairbanks Elementary School system. I want to say thank you to the teachers, the school staff, and to each of you on the school board for all that you do. My family appreciates you, and we're just so thrilled with the transition to elementary school. So thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next online, we have Christine St. Pierre.
I'm not seeing her online.
Okay. Next, we have Miss Caroline Brown.
My name is Caroline Brown. Last name is Brown, and I live in Fairbanks. I have 3 kids that have gone through, or one of them has graduated already, and I still have 2 in high school, and I've had the privilege of spending a lot of time in their classrooms. So first, I want to thank the Diversity Committee for their work on the Honoring Indigenous Peoples Day resolution. I really appreciate that as a community, we take the time to sincerely honor our region's Indigenous roots, history, and the past and ongoing contributions that Alaska Native people make every day to this community. I also want to commend the school board for creating the FNA seat, now held by Melissa Charlie, and I'm excited to hear more about her perspective that you bring. Second, I want to voice my support of the Recognizing LGBTQ+ History Month resolution in order to promote a school community where all students feel supported and affirmed. Our schools are excellent places of learning math and English for sure, but they are also places for learning how to treat each other with respect, how to feel empowered for who we are, and for understanding the incredible strengths of diversity. While both of these resolutions have received criticism in the past, I maintain my support because I hope by now that we all understand that kids learn best when they feel supported and when they can see themselves in the subjects they're learning. These resolutions move us in that direction. Finally, I want to take a moment to recognize some very special people in our schools. Today, I send a huge shout out to our district's guidance counselors. One of my kids just started high school, and before classes started, his schedule was a little bit of a mess. I used his school's portal to send a message out into the ether and hoped to hear back. I didn't expect a quick response because I know the start of school is very busy. But I received a call early the next morning, and after a few minutes, we had it all sorted out. I was super grateful to have one thing knocked off the list of things my kid has to think about when he's starting high school. These counselors spend a lot of time fixing schedules and refixing them again and again. The beginning of each semester is the same heavy lift, and most are working late into the night when the rest of us have clocked out. But they also do so much more. School counselors help kids with their problems, whether it be concerns about bullying or needing a tutor. They make themselves available for just about everything. They are a sounding board, an ear to listen, a shoulder to lean on, and an ever-important source of snacks. My child's counselor in middle school organized activities that helped him learn valuable lessons about community service and teamwork to help others. I am sure they don't hear it enough. So, thank you, Miss Bertouche from Pearl Creek. Thank you, Miss Sartz from Randy Smith. Thank you, Miss Ross at West Valley. And thank you to all of the counseling staff in every single school in our district.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Angie Alston.
Hi, my name is Angie Alston, A-L-S-T-O-N as in Nancy, and I live near Chena Point. I have 2 children that are attending school in the district and another child who will be in kindergarten next year. I would like to speak in favor of including celebrations of Indigenous Peoples Day and LGBTQ+ History Month in the school district. Representation matters. All students deserve to see their identities acknowledged and celebrated in their schools. Celebrating one identity isn't an insult to all other identities. When we celebrate Women's History Month in March, we aren't saying that anyone who isn't a woman is worthless or offensive. When we honor veterans on Veterans Day, we aren't saying that anyone who isn't a veteran is useless. We can celebrate what is different about us without feeling threatened by those differences. And our children and all of us are enriched when there's a variety of people around us. Now, my children specifically, they're Alaskan Native. That's a part of who they are, and I want them to feel proud and safe in their identities. But I also want all children in our entire school district to feel the same way. Now, I'd also like to mention that my husband works as a teacher in the district, and the proposed increases to the health insurance premiums are terrifying to us. It has us looking at different jobs, different locations, and trying to consider other ways to increase our income so that we can afford the premiums. And when I think about the strain that will put on classified employees and how it will be even worse because the premiums will eat up a greater percentage of their income, it just really worries me. So I just ask the board to please do the hard work of prioritizing things in the budget so that employees don't take on such a huge financial burden. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Griffin Sukeu.
Hi there, my name is Griffin Sukeo, S-U-K-K-A-E-W. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm here today to testify in support of the resolution 2025-04 recognizing LGBTQ History Month. I want to talk about how representation matters. Representation, such as recognizing LGBTQ+ History Month, builds empathy between students. As they learn about different types of people, they are able to understand and accept them, even if they are different. In a world that is often derisive towards those who are different, it is important to care for one another and build a strong community. It is good for queer kids to learn that there are others like them out there. I was lucky enough to learn about queerness in elementary school. Oftentimes, when students first hear the word gay or queer, it is in a negative connotation. Imagine how positive the world would be if instead they learned about the amazing queer role models that we have. I just think it's very, very important, and yes. I'm also representing myself. I don't know if I said that, but thank you all for the amazing work you do.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Ms. Ashley Carrick.
Good evening, board members. My name is Ashley Carrick, C-A-R-R-I-C-K, and I live in West Fairbanks. I want to thank you all for taking everybody's testimony tonight and just offer an additional bit of positive testimony. I was on the Board Diversity Committee the very first time both of these resolutions that are on the agenda tonight came up, and as someone who is a member of the queer community and as somebody who is a member of this community, I'm very grateful that they continue to be heard and recognized. Families in our district of every ability, age, gender, race, religion, and in every season of life deserve to be held in high regard, and these resolutions take a step to do that. All of our students, teachers, and staff members deserve to feel safe and recognized as well, and again, these resolutions help to do that. I had a second thing tonight to talk with the board about. As a fellow elected official, I want to look each member in the eye tonight. I want to implore and encourage and offer positivity to all members here to remember to treat each other and the public with dignity and respect. And I'm very grateful to have seen that in our current board from every member of this body. I hope to see and model the values that are important to this community. Values such as dignity, respect, empathy, and freedom to think independently and differently from others, and to respect the opinions that are different and independent in others. I want the members of this community, of which I am a member, to also remember that we are a community that helps chop wood for elders when they need help doing that to heat their homes. We are a community that pulls off on the side of the road in the cold to make sure that a broken down car has a person that has a way to get home. We are a community that stands strong and stands together when one among us is weaker. We are a community that cares. We are the Golden Heart community. And to that effect, I hope to see our community values mirrored back to this elected body by the public. I hope that members of the public can appreciate the sacrifices that it takes for the members here and in every elected position in our community and state to run for office and to serve in office. And I want to thank the folks who are here and able to serve. It doesn't matter if we agree or disagree on any particular issue. If we treat each other with respect, we can move forward as a community. And that's what's ultimately the most important. So thank you to the public who are choosing to testify respectfully, even when I might disagree or the board members might disagree. And thank you to the board members for respectfully listening regardless of the testimony and the content of that testimony. Thank you all for your service.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have John Boyarski.
Hi, everyone. I'm John Boyarski, B-O-Y-A-R-S-K-Y. I live in North Pole on Badger Road. First, I wanted to say thank you, everybody, for being here. I appreciate your service as a school board. I'm directing these comments to you as a school board in general. I'm here to talk to you about the healthcare. People have already addressed the cost that it's going up. What I'd like to make sure I recommend is let's move the open enrollment deadline to December 1st. Our open enrollment is from October 1st to 31st. There is no reason to have it so early. The federal deadline is December 15th. Private companies in Fairbanks don't even open their enrollment till November. My wife works for a private company. She's not even going to know her numbers until the beginning of November. So for me to make an informed choice on insurance, whether to pay for the school district insurance or go with hers, I can't even make that decision until after our open enrollment has closed. And I'm sure many of us other employees are in the same boat. The federal employee market doesn't even open till November. And if the cost is going to stay high, whatever it is, we might need to look at the federal plan, we might need to look at private plans, and we need to be able to make informed choices. And by signing up in October and limiting us to October 31st, we don't have the information available to make a good choice. And so I propose that we move the open enrollment to December 1st and don't end it October 31st. I know Mr. Meinert has said that American Fidelity is not available in November. They work for us. That's too bad. We need to be able to enroll in after October 31st. And that's what I present. As a respect to us and employees, we need to be able to make informed choices. Many of our ESSA people are going to get their paychecks cut in half, some of them 3/4, some of them, like was mentioned earlier, are going to be owing the district money. And we need to have information to make the proper choice. I don't know if the costs are going to go down through negotiations or not. If they don't, I don't know if I can switch to my wife's plan or not. I'm lucky we have a second income, but many people don't. But I won't be able to make that unless the information is available, and I won't have information until after our open enrollment is closed. So thank you. I appreciate you up here. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Bonnie Mund.
Hello, my name is Bonnie Mund, M-U-N-D, and I reside in Fairbanks near the university. I am the SLP or speech aide at Pearl Creek Elementary. My year so far has been filled with lots of, Miss Bonnie, teacher, do I get to go with you today? And seemingly endless troubleshooting as I aid a remote speech therapist. The joyful moments are absolutely what fills me up, and I am careful to take note and slow down to be present for them. During a quick sidewalk conversation after parent pickup with Katie Spellman, I recently learned that nearly every classroom at Pearl Creek Elementary is participating in the Globe Green Down research this year. How incredible is it that our students are so widely involved in this amazing data collection that spans many years? My own fourth grader told me that his group's tree lost all of its leaves by the second week, somewhat mysterious, which would have been disappointing, except that it meant they went deeper into the woods to find a new tree. There are so many incredible things happening with our current students, but I also have something to share about a West Valley High School alum. This month, Time Magazine revealed the 2024 Time 100 AI list of the world's most influential people in artificial intelligence, which includes Jeffrey Irving, my brother. Jeffrey is the research director, or a research director, I'm not sure, at the UK AI Safety Institute. I am obviously very proud of my brother for dedicating his career to making sure AI safety is taken seriously and doing his part to help AI companies and labs prioritize safety to keep up with the warp speed advances in AI capabilities. Again, he graduated from West Valley about 25 years ago, so our school district has sent out some incredible graduates. One of the other people on that list of 100 is Mark Zuckerberg. Lastly, a little bit harder note on the healthcare front. I would like to second what has been said about the open enrollment. It's really not feasible for employees in our district to be able to make a well-informed decision by October 31st. It's just not. We being the district, the bargaining committees, are being pushed to make decisions on much too fast a timeline. And I hope that we can push for that open enrollment to be moved back. And also, I really want to encourage the possibility of moving to a fiscal year in the future so that employees know before their year starts. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Aaron Genoso.
Hi, my name is Aaron Genoso, Janoso, and I live here in Fairbanks. And I'm here tonight to voice my wholehearted support for the resolution recognizing LGBTQ History Month. I'm grateful to be part of a school district that stated that it's committed to providing all of its students a high-quality education in a safe and supportive environment. And the acceptance of this resolution is an opportunity for the board to demonstrate that commitment. The LGBTQ History Month resolution is not a new one to this district. For a number of years now, it has served to help students understand that LGBTQ people have always been a part of a long history of strength, resilience, and substantial accomplishment. Every young person, or every person for that matter, no matter their age, deserves to know that about the communities to which they belong. They deserve to see themselves within their schools, to know that their stories are important, valued, and valid, that they are important, valued, valid, and wanted as individuals just as they are. I don't want my 6th grade daughter going to a school or living in a community where she or any of her fellow students have to hide huge parts of what makes them themselves in order to be accepted. I want her to have the opportunity to understand and appreciate the uniqueness that each individual brings to her classroom, to her school, and to this place here where we all live. When that doesn't happen, when we intentionally leave out members of our community from the stories that we share with each other, we all lose, and we do immeasurable harm to vulnerable kids who are in desperate need for acceptance, love, and support from those around them. Which is why I feel it's so important to remember that LGBTQ plus history is history. It's part of Fairbanks history, and so it deserves to be acknowledged because the people in our past that made that history deserve to be known. And the kids in our schools now that will make tomorrow's history deserve to be able to see themselves in it. And I hope that as a community, we're able to join together to help them do exactly that. And I just want to say thank you to each of you for your service. Thanks.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Kathy Catron. Catrone.
Hi, my name is Kathy Catron. My last name spelling is C-A-T-R-O-N. I'm from West Fairbanks. I've been a police officer in Alaska for almost 25 years. I'm currently the chief of police at the University of Alaska Fairbanks Police Department, and I'm gay. I'm here today representing myself as a private person, and the statements I make are my own and not those of my employer. Having said that, I'm in favor of the resolution recognizing LGBTQ plus History Month. This recognition is vital. It serves as a concrete affirmation of our existence within the larger community. It acknowledges the struggles we've endured, the triumphs we've achieved, and most importantly, that if you are a member of the LGBTQ plus community, life is full of possibility and hope. Looking back on my own past, which is high school in the 80s, so you can do the math. I remember a time when I was homeless. I was kicked out because I said, "Mom, Dad, I'm gay." My parents believed I could choose not to be gay, and they asked me to do just that, to choose. I left my family home that day with nowhere to go, no support, no future. I suddenly had zero value in their eyes, and it hurt me to my core. I mean, clearly it still does. It took years for my parents and I to reconcile, for me to find my self-worth, for my parents to understand that my identity was not a choice. My being gay was not a choice. My story is part of my history and therefore part of what makes me me. And I guess now that I've said it out loud, it's part of everybody's history in this room. The decision you're about to make will directly impact young individuals who might be struggling to recognize their own value. The responsibility to educate our future leaders rests in your hands at this very moment. Please validate their importance and don't allow them to face their struggles alone. Choose instead to give them hope. Hope that they will someday be part of our shared history. Voting in favor of this resolution is a single act of kindness towards an underrepresented and marginalized community, a community of people. Please cast your votes in support of this resolution and acknowledge LGBTQ+ individuals and their important contributions to our society. Our history enriches everyone's future. Let's ensure that no young person has to endure isolation and hardship because they can't envision a future for themselves. Acknowledging our past gives them, the students, hope for their future. Thanks.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Gretchen Gordon.
Good evening. My name is Gretchen Gordon, Gordon, and I live in Fairbanks. I have a graduate of U Park, Randy Smith, and West Valley. Good evening, members of the school board. First and foremost, I want to thank each of you for your tireless work on behalf of our students and our community. Your commitment to creating an inclusive, supportive environment for all students does not go unnoticed. And tonight, I'm here to voice my strong support for the resolutions to recognize LGBTQ+ History Month and Indigenous Peoples Day. These resolutions are not just symbolic. They're about telling the full story of our shared history and ensuring every student feels seen, valued, and respected. LGBTQ+ individuals have been integral in shaping our society, contributing to the arts, sciences, and the fight for equality. Indigenous peoples are the original stewards of this land, and their rich histories and cultures deserve the deep respect and recognition that have too often been denied. I commend the school board for continuing to champion equity and inclusion in education. You've already made strides in fostering a learning environment that promotes understanding and celebrates diversity. These resolutions represent another step forward in fulfilling that mission. It's disheartening to see that some voices, often extremists, have tried to distort the importance of these resolutions. Let's be clear, recognizing the history and contributions of marginalized groups does not diminish anyone else's history or identity. It enriches all of us. These divisive arguments do nothing but create unnecessary fear and sow discord. Our community is better than that, and I'm proud that this board has not wavered in the face of such baseless opposition. By passing these resolutions, you send a powerful message to every student in this district that they matter, that their history matters, and that this is a place where they can learn and grow without fear of exclusion or erasure. Thank you for your leadership, your courage, and for making this district a beacon of hope and inclusion. I strongly urge you to pass these resolutions and continue the excellent work you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Ryan Perrooker. Then Pepper McFarland.
We did have some gentlemen walk in that might be of a young age. Do you want to ask if they want to testify? No. Okay, just checking. Pepper McFarland, McFarland. I live out in the North Pole area. I am not here to talk about healthcare, although now that I can take my years with me, If we don't fix it, I may spend my last 3 years somewhere else. I'm here to talk about, she used to sit over here. She's gone now. The last time I was here and spoke, she said something about, well, and it's kind of snarky, do you want smaller class sizes or do you want larger salaries? And I said, well, those are only two options. And she said, do you have suggestions? I have suggestions. I was listening to the Borough Assembly meeting the other day, and I heard the words education elements. And my head snapped up, and I said, what? We aren't doing that again, are we? If I remember right, that was $1.2 million that we spent to have folks from outside come in and teach us how to do personalized learning. Folks, we know this. We have amazing teachers in this district. We don't need to pay somebody to teach that. We have it. What we need is smaller class sizes. We need to get our high school ones down below 25. We need to get our elementary ones below 20 so that the teachers can get in there, figure out what each kid needs, and make that happen. Okay, how do we make that happen? In this building, we have some really amazing teachers. In fact, so much so that you have hired them as curriculum coaches. Let's take those folks, those amazing teachers, put them in schools, in classrooms, with students, and let them model it. Let them be there on site when the meltdown happens, and they can go, here, let me help you. Not 2 days later say, well, here's what you should have done. And so the money savings comes from, what do we have, 15, 20 certified teachers in this building. We put them in classrooms, pay them a huge stipend. I'm talking head football coach kind of stipend, to be the curriculum coach in the building with the people who need them, the kids and the teachers. That also clears up some space in this building where we could, well, I don't know, rent out a floor, make a little bit of money, right? Okay, how about everybody in this building except HR and payroll? You can leave HR and payroll here. Everybody else, IT should be in the buildings where the teachers need them. Move everybody. Give Dr. Meinert a classroom-size office at Lathrop High School, right? We've got the technology. They can do their meetings. They can make it happen. So we're saving money, $1.2 million from education elements. We are saving the salaries of the teachers in this building without firing anyone. We are creating curriculum coaches out of the teachers that are already here, that are already really good at what they do in the classrooms. We're bringing down class size, and we can rent out 3/4 of the building. I had, if you have questions, I know you can't answer them now, but if you had questions, it was going to be, ask me about substitutes. I got ideas there too. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. You have time for one more person, and that will be Laverne Hackison.
Good evening. Thank you for having me and allowing me to speak. My name is Laverne Hawkinson. I'm in Fairbanks, Hawkinson, Haakanson. So when I first started teaching, 26 years ago, it was hard to get in the classroom. Everybody respected teachers and everybody wanted to come to Fairbanks. They wanted to move to the city and be on the roadway. Today it's a little different. We're having a hard time keeping our teachers, and I had the honor of going on walking tours at Denali Elementary with Karen Dolan, and she knows elementary schools. I know middle schools more, so I was really lucky to have her. She knew the little ones, she knew the little wave. And Denali was really welcoming. It's an awesome school, and you could see the passion that the teachers have for teaching there. And as we were going through the school, almost everybody we talked to had concerns with the healthcare, and it's scaring a lot of us. One person shared that she started with Plan A because she had a family, but then Plan A got so expensive that she had to switch to Plan B. And now she's saying she can't even afford Plan B, and she doesn't know what she's going to do. She even questioned our pay raise. We got a pay raise, but now we have insurance raise. So did we really get a raise? Today we need to be encouraging our teachers and keeping them. And I love Tanana. That's where I teach. It's amazing. And yeah, thank you.
For your testimony. With that, our public testimony is now closed. And we are going to take a 5 to 8 minute recess. I would like to call our meeting back to order. We are back from recess and it is 7:23. The next item on our agenda is advisory members' reports and comments. I have been told that our military representatives do not have comments tonight, so we will move to Ms. Charlie.
Thank you. Just really quick, I would like to say for Resolution 2025-04 and 2025-06, I am in favor of both resolutions. No, not only am I in favor of passing them, but also making them a standing resolution so we don't have to go through this process year after year. And also, good evening. I just want to personally thank this board for your vote and acceptance of FNA receiving a seat at this table. The education system has not always been a pleasant or safe experience for our people. It is through our elders, our tradition, and our values that we have persevered. Today, we remain resilient and we are still here. What we have to offer is our song, our dance, our language, food, and life skills. Today, I'm pleased that this school board sees the value that we bring to this district, and I'm hopeful that more school boards follow suit by designating our voice to be heard and contributing to the mutual goal of ensuring an excellent education for all of our children. We truly value our children and their success in this district and all districts. Bessie, for your warm welcome to this board, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you.
Thank you, Ms. Charlie. Next, we have Mr. Shannon.
Yeah, so we have yet to have another regional student council meeting since the last time that we met here. So I really don't have a whole lot to add. All I have to say is good luck North Pole at the next few football games. We're gonna win, definitely.
All right. Our next is board committee reports. Are there any board members who have a report? Mr. Burgess.
Thank you. The curriculum committee met for the first time this year 2 weeks ago on Thursday. And forgot my notes, but we we had a great discussion about well, first we started about talking about just the process and making sure that our new members were oriented to how the curriculum committee works. And then had a pretty robust discussion on curriculum for, what did we talk about? Healthcare, music, and world languages. I just wanted to say this committee has some very engaged and dedicated people. I especially want to call out our student representative on the committee, Mr. Jeremiah Bales, for speaking up multiple times and bringing forward an addition to the health curriculum based on a resolution from the student ASB board, the regional student. Well, it was from ASB, the state. Yeah, the state student government. Mr. Bales brought forward a resolution for our attention on the use of Narcan to add that as a specific item for our health curriculum, and the committee was very happy about that in general. All the adults were very proud of Mr. Bales for bringing that up. So really excited to continue to work with this committee. Got a lot of, again, really very engaged people with very relevant experience and expertise. So I'm looking forward to this year with curriculum.
Thank you. Are there any other committees needing?
Sorry, I should also mention that the public comment period for world languages, I believe, is open. Or is that, sorry, that's coming up. Music is open. Music is open. Thank you, Mr. Bean. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Next, Ms. Burnett.
Thank you. Just very small report to give. The Parental Family Engagement Committee has finally filled all of its seats, but with all the strategic planning and everything that is going on over the next month and a half and so, The next meeting will be in November after we do the reorganization of the board.
The next item on the agenda is the president's report. Pull mine up. So first, just to clarify some things that were mentioned in public testimony, specifically about Education Elements. Education Elements was hired not to help facilitate any professional learning for the district in this case, but to help us with our strategic plan. They are actually going to be presenting to us a little bit later in our agenda as part of information and reports. And they are there to help facilitate the strategic planning process, which is a tremendous lift. And they'll talk about a lot of that, but it includes surveys, multiple meetings, and all of their services, which so far have been very robust, all are for under $100,000. So it is not a large contract. And it is just beyond the capacity of our current administration to facilitate all of that, including the actual output of designing and creating everything. So we thank them for their assistance, and I am really excited for the community to hear where we're at in the process directly from them in just a few minutes. Next, this past weekend, board members attended the ASB Annual Fall Boardsmanship Academy. As part of the conference, members of our board and administration were able to present to the board to boards from around the state. Mr. Doran co-presented a session with ASB's Executive Director, Long Garrison, on a school board's role and curriculum, and Dr. Miner and myself co-presented a session on collaborative goal setting and action planning between the board and the superintendent. The board will attend our next professional development in November. It will be a new board, as it's after the election, and that will be in Anchorage at the ASB's annual conference. The board and the administration would like to thank the Borough Assembly for unanimously passing the recent ordinance to fund the replacement of North Pole High School's failing boiler system. We hope the replacement boilers will be installed in the summer of 2025, and we value their partnership with the Assembly in helping us take care of our schools. And lastly, our local municipal election day is October 1st, but early voting has already begun at the Shoppers Forum Mall. From now until September 22nd, you can go in and vote early from 10 a.m. till 7 p.m. each day, or 11 p.m. till 6 p.m. on Sunday the 22nd. On the ballot will be candidates for local office, including Borough Mayor, North Pole Mayor, Borough Assembly, North Pole and Fairbanks City Councils, School Board, and the Interior Gas Utilities Board. Local elections are nonpartisan and, except for city races, are at large, meaning all borough residents can vote for all positions regardless of where they live. Please make your voice heard and make sure you're to vote in our local elections. And now I will pass it to the superintendent for his report.
All right, thank you, President Hardy. As Mr. Burgess said, the public comment period to review draft 1 of the music curriculum guide is now open from September 11th through the 29th. And there is a link on the front page of our webpage, one of the big headers there. If you click on it, it'll take you to a page that has a cover letter and a draft, and then a feedback form for you to submit your feedback for music. The second round of public comment for health, PE, and world language just closed on September 15th. Thank you for the community members that participated in that process for reviewing draft 1 of those curriculum guides. Draft 1 of the art curriculum will be available at a later date. One significant change to the health curriculum is the district will be requiring all previously approved supplemental resources other than our approved presenters to go through our updated approval process for the district. What we found as we were reviewing the health curriculum is that most of the resources on the supplemental resource page were outdated, and that our current health teachers were not taking advantage of those health resources. Additionally, we have a pretty robust review process in place that individual supplemental materials will now go through. As we look at AR in the future, we'll also discuss sunsetting of supplementary materials. That's not something that's captured in our current administrative regulation, but ensuring that there's some kind of ongoing review of supplemental materials down the road, so on a 3 to 5 year period increment. Additionally, I did hear in public testimony tonight asking if consent was a part of our current health curriculum. Consent and expressing personal boundaries is a part of our current health curriculum and is a part of the new proposed health curriculum and an important part of it. So I wanted the public to be aware of that. The Fairbanks North Star Borough School District, in partnership with UAF, is excited to host the Fairbanks College and Career Fair. Last year was the first year that we were back at the Woods Center post-pandemic. It was a great event. We had over 80 vendors there from both colleges, universities, military representatives, labor and workforce. So lots of opportunities for our students to go meet with representatives that might meet their interest levels. It's going to be open for juniors and seniors. This year's fair's date is Friday, October 13th. At the Wood Center, and I'd like to thank UAF for both the generous donation of the space as well as providing transportation for our students to UAF. It's a great partnership that we've developed to put on this college and career fair. West Valley is hosting an Educators Rising class that currently has 14 students enrolled who are all interested in becoming teachers. And I know this is something that we've talked about as a board and then as administration of wanting Educators Rising to come back in a big way in our district. We know we we need teachers within our district, and homegrown teachers are some of our very best teachers, and they're here to stay. And so we really want to work with our high school students that are interested in becoming teachers to create that new pipeline of educators for the next generation of students that will serve. A huge thanks to Selena Moore for her willingness to step up the course, step up to teach the course, and we're hopeful that that pathway will spread to other high schools in the future. If you're a parent of a kindergartner through third grade student, mark your calendars for November 2nd as we're hosting a mini conference for families on how to work with their students at home on improving their students' literacy and math skills. The conference will run from 9 a.m. to noon at Ann Ween Elementary School, and childcare will be available on site. And so we're partnering with some of our UAF interns that are willing to provide some childcare, as well as some of our high school students. And so we'll have additional information that'll come out soon, but just super happy with teaching and learning and working on this family engagement goal to try to equip parents to better help their students at home. Data keeps trickling in from last year, and the district has had an incredibly successful year last year with improved literacy proficiency rates, improved attendance, improved culture and climate, and now our senior analyst was able to finalize graduation rates. And we matched a district high with a graduation rate of over 80%, which was a 3% increase from the previous year. This is directly attributable to the extra efforts our teachers are putting in to meet the needs of all students, our strong credit recovery options throughout the district, and the work our principals and counselors are doing to match at-risk students with educational opportunities that match students' current realities. And so just very happy with those graduation rates that continue to improve. Each one of those are attached to a student and a student's future, and we want all students to be successful here in our community. I did want to make a special shout out for F.E. Cochran. They actually had the largest increase of all schools at 6.9% growth. And so we're big into celebrating growth within our district, and so a huge shout out to Principal Snow and his staff, and we're going to go celebrate with them here soon with a pizza party, and just want to get down with the staff and thank them for their efforts. Lastly, I want to provide an important update on the ongoing discussions regarding healthcare premiums for the 2025 plan year. I understand how difficult the news of rising premiums has been for our employees, and I want to assure employees in the community that the district has taken proactive steps to address these concerns. Despite having contracts already in place, the district initiated discussions with our 3 bargaining units to try to work on finding solutions that could alleviate the burden of higher premiums for everyone. During negotiation sessions held in 2023, healthcare was a focal point of those discussions. FEA, ESSA, and FPA were faced with difficult decisions given the district's limited funding. They needed to make the choice, prioritize salary increases or healthcare. Ultimately, the bargaining units agreed to contracts that included future premium increases, but were balanced with salary and wage adjustments to help offset the financial impact of our employees. Since then, we have continued working with the unions to explore ways to reduce premium costs. The district has a proposal on the table that meets the premium levels the unions have requested. While we understand that any increase in health premiums is impactful, offering rates of $60 for an employee, $80 for an employee plus spouse and child, and $100 for a family is competitive in today's healthcare market and matches the level and plan design our bargaining units had asked for. This proposal comes at a time when the district is grappling with significant budgetary challenges, including a massive projected deficit in the spring budget cycle, due in part to the salary increases we've already committed to for our employees next year. Late this afternoon, the district received a counter proposal from our union partners that is currently under review, and I just want to say thank you to the bargaining units for sending that over prior to tomorrow's negotiations sessions. We are hopeful our bargaining units will come willing to have collaborative conversations tomorrow during our negotiation sessions, as the deadline for submitting premium rates to American Fidelity is quickly approaching on September 23rd. If an agreement cannot be met this week, we must adhere to the current contract and published rates, as we do have contracts already in place. American Fidelity has said that they could facilitate open enrollment for the district in November 2025. If that is the direction we would like to move? We hadn't heard that request for some time from employees. Now that we're hearing that request, we've already connected with American Fidelity, and we have that option in the future. Unfortunately, that is not an option for this school year. Our shared goal is to ensure that we provide our employees with affordable healthcare options while also keeping the district's financial future secure, to ensure we can continue providing all students with an excellent education every single day. So that concludes my report, and happy to answer any questions for the board.
Mr. Doran.
Two quick ones. Could you repeat the date for the K-3 literacy mini conference?
I sure can. It is November 2nd.
Okay, and that's for all parents, K through.
All parents and families, and even, I mean, we're not going to turn you away if you're a family of an upper elementary student and you want to come check it out and hear more. You're more than welcome.
Thank you. And the other question I had is just to check: have we received a response back from Durham? Their representative last time had said they would get right back to us on their safety details regarding the busing along the highways and the increased industrial traffic. Have we heard back from them yet?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'll check in with Mr. Henson on that.
Okay, thank you.
And once I get a response, I'll be sure to pass that back to the board.
Right, great, thank you.
Ms. Marati.
Thank you. There's so much to say, and I was trying to take notes. Can you tell me again the proposal that the district provided, the monthly, is it per pay period rate that the district proposed in the negotiations?
Yes, ma'am. Currently, the proposal on the table from the district, which matches what the unions had asked for, is $60 for an employee per pay period, $80 for an employee plus spouse and child, and $100 for a family in Plan B.
May I follow up? And that's what will be discussed tomorrow night at the negotiations?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yep.
Not seeing any further questions. Our next item on the agenda is under information and reports, and that is our presentation from Ed Elements on strategic planning. Anna Rizzo, Sarah Baver, Drew Shantz, I should be better at saying these, I know you all now, Kelly Fahrenheit, and members of the Ed Elements team will present an up-to-date report on the district strategic plan.
All right, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, wonderful. Let me go ahead and share my, am I able to share my screen to run through slides?
Just confirming with people. Should we take a brief at ease while we work through it?
Sure.
Drew, when you click share screen, what kind of message do you get?
It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay, yeah, if we could take a brief at ease to
Okay,
work
we'll
through
take
that.
a brief at ease, which means we kind of stay where we are.
Progress report on our work with the Fairbanks
Can
School
I get you to
Districts.
pause? I missed our.
Yes.
Okay, you were muted. Could you start from the beginning?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
We're good. Okay. All right. Well, good evening, and thank you so much for the time to present a progress report on our work with the Fairbanks School District on strategic planning and facilities utilization efforts. Tonight, I'm going to be walking through our progress so far and also discuss some of the next steps that we're going to take to ensure a strong future for the district. And as you'll note, it is just me going to present today. My colleagues are probably asleep right now on the East Coast, but I hope I do them justice in presenting this material on their behalf. So education elements, just for those of you in the audience who aren't familiar with our work, I know this was spoken about briefly earlier, but we're proud to support districts in achieving sustainable outcomes through a focus on high quality instruction, leadership development, and strategic direction. We partner with districts from coast to coast to elevate leaders to improve instructional practices and implement strategies that lead to measurable school improvements. The other individuals who are on the team are listed here on the screen. Together, we bring a diverse array of expertise to help support the district through the strategic planning and the facilities utilization process. Anna and Sarah are our fearless leaders on this project, whereas myself and Kelly are supporting them and their expertise behind the scenes. So just as a little bit of a framing for what our role is in the strategic planning process, to dig in a little bit more, we act as a guide throughout the strategic planning process and have done this work with over 50 districts across the country so far. And in each of those projects, we work really closely with district leadership to define key activities, to ensure community-driven decision-making, and ultimately produce a strategic plan that reflects the district's goals and that purposefully includes community input. Now, when we're talking about a strategic plan, there's some language that I will probably pepper in throughout our update. So just to give you sort of a refresher or a framing for what those terms mean. Each component, from the mission and vision to the strategic objectives and initiatives, answers really important questions about what the district's future is going to be. And these elements will really shape the district's priorities for the next 5+ years and define how success will be measured. And I'll talk through in a couple minutes about which components of the strategic plan have been solidified or are being solidified right now, and the work that has still yet to go. This is a process, and we began it back in the spring of last school year with our stakeholder engagement work. We're currently in the design phase where we're facilitating sessions with members of specific teams that I'll touch on the next slide, to start to lay the foundations for both the strategic plan and the facilities utilization framework. Later, at the end of October, we're going to be moving into testing and refining these strategies and facilitating additional opportunities to reach out to the community to seek their input as these prototypes or the progress is being made on each component of our work together. So since this is quite an undertaking, our work is organized across several teams. The project team is a core group of folks, primarily district administrators. President Hardy also sits on that group, that manages the day-to-day tasks and creates the conditions for all of this work to happen. The larger steering team helps to review trends and drafts the strategic plan, and the facilities team focuses on critical decisions regarding school utilization and consolidations. The school board will ultimately be the ones to ratify the strategic plan and the facilities framework. So I'll start with some accomplishments. This is harkening back to that timeline that we looked at a couple moments ago. So far, what we've done in our plan and align phase is to articulate some clear project goals. We introduced governance structures and really kicked off the work with each of the district teams that I had just mentioned. We also begun by laying the groundwork for community engagement efforts, which have been really crucial to the plan's overall success. So just to review again why we believe community engagement is so important. It's critical to this process because by involving the community in the process from the start, we really build investment in the process. We ensure that we don't have to seek buy-in later when that is a continual process. We never really hit pause or end on community engagement. It helps to ensure that all voices, especially those, we make a great deal of effort to ensure that those, especially who are not heard very often, or maybe not the loudest voices in the room, are also included. And this approach really makes the implementation of the strategic planning process more successful in the end. And then this was spoken about briefly earlier as well, but we used a mix during our plan and align and foundations phase, a mix of surveys and focus groups to engage the community and sort of see what their thoughts were for the future of the district. Surveys were really our mechanism to help identify where to focus our attention, while focus groups really allowed for us, Anna, Sarah, and myself, when we were up in your neck of the woods in May, to allow for some deeper discussions, some ideation and collaboration in the planning process. I think it's important to note that over the course of our work together, I think we set some personal records for Ed Elements as far as the amount of community engagement that we were able to conduct, thanks in part to the project team for helping to get some folks together. We facilitated 24 focus groups over the course of, I think, 2 or 3 days. Definitely a large undertaking. We typically have fewer than 10 focus groups when a district asks us to help facilitate the strategic planning process. So really hats off to everyone in the district and especially the project team who helped us to maximize our time and ensure that we had as many voices as possible in those focus groups in particular. We've since completed the analysis of this and synthesis of the survey data and the focus group data, which are informing the next steps in the planning process that I'm going to talk about in just a couple moments. Just getting back to the survey real quick, this slide just shows a breakdown of survey participants by their roles, highlighting the diverse range of perspectives that we gathered from different stakeholders across the district. The largest being parents and guardians of current students, followed closely by community members. And then just a breakdown, zooming into the student participation in the survey. We really value student voice in the process, and we're really glad to have students as members of our steering team as well. But just to give you a look at how they responded to the survey, this is the breakdown, keeping in mind that students did have the option to self-select which grade they were in, so just taking that as a consideration as well. So once we gathered all that data and we synthesized it, we categorized what we found into several domains, which you can see on the screen here. So these domains really provided a structured way to analyze the community's input and guide the strategic direction of the district. So we really needed to take a lot of information and sort of put it into these categories or buckets so that we could play around with it and sort of see at a more granular level how the community felt about these various aspects of the current state of the district, as well as their future ambitions and hopes for the district. So now that we are in the design phase, we've really begun to identify the district's strategic direction through mission, vision, and value statements. We're also working with the steering team to develop strategic goals and initiatives that'll happen later on in October. And the facilities team is creating frameworks for framework prototypes for facilities utilization. You can see here on the screen just a couple snapshots of our work together back at the end of August. And you can see sort of the timeline for when we are going to move into that testing phase, the ideation and the testing phase for the components that those teams are creating. So at that August 29th visioning session, getting a little bit more in depth here, we reviewed community engagement data with the steering team. We identified 4 main pillars. From that list of domains, we sort of consolidated through some human-centered design protocols that Anna and Sarah led the group on. And those 4 main pillars that we've identified, you can see at the top of the screen: amplifying access and choice, excellence in education, investing in our people, and partnering with our community. So those are essentially the pillars that are going to shape the strategic direction for the district. And then we moved on to August 30th. We held a facility session to review findings from the community engagement process with that particular group and develop framework prototypes for facilities utilization. So this session also used a lot of design thinking and human-centered design to get participants thinking about what are those components that we need to include in the facilities utilization framework so that we can make some of those decisions when the framework is finalized and ratified. So the draft pillars that I had mentioned earlier for the strategic plan came out of that community engagement work and were generated by drafts of those were generated by members of the steering team. And then we sort of took those drafts and refined them into another draft form. This is sort of draft version 2, that has a little bit more of an in-depth definition of what each of those pillars mean. And again, this is very much still in draft form and has not been finalized, but we want to make sure that we're maintaining transparency through the process so you can kind of see as you're following along where we're at as far as getting the beginnings of the strategic plan put together. So as we move forward, what's going to be really critical is continuing to engage with the community to test strategies that are developed by both the strategic plan steering team and the facilities team. The next round of engagement will happen in November and December, and that's really going to allow us to gather feedback and refine what we've created before we get into the next phase of finalizing both of those particular resources. So taking a look at what's ahead, our focus once both of those resources, the strategic plan and the facilities utilization framework, are finalized, we're going to work closely with the district to create systems for tracking progress and ensuring that the strategic plan is effectively communicated to the school community. A common refrain that we will often share is that we don't want strategic plans to sit on the shelf and collect dust. They really need to be out in the open, very accessible, and used on a very regular basis, daily basis perhaps, to be a barometer for decision making. And every member of the district community should know what role they are playing in the actualization of that strategic plan. So we're going to work very closely with the steering team to develop some strategies to ensure that the community stays involved in the strategic plan, even when the plan itself is drafted and published. And I like to say too that that's really the beginning of the work. This is sort of step zero. The real work begins when the strategic plan is finalized. And speaking of that road ahead, this sort of outlines the phases of implementation that we tend to, the trends that we tend to see with the districts that we support over the first 5 years of a strategic plan's implementation. Each year really focuses on a different aspect. You can see alignment, acclimation, refinement, sustainability, and envisioning, to ensure that the district is really successfully achieving successfully and sustainably achieving its long-term goals. So I know that was a fast and furious overview, but I'd love to open the floor to members of the board if you have any questions for me.
Mr. Doran?
If I can do a couple and then put me back in the queue. Thanks, Drew, for that overview, and I think it was very, very helpful, and it's very important for our community to be able to see that process. Some of these questions, I'm not sure whether it'd be Drew with that elements or administration, and it may, some of it is, I'm thinking ahead and trying to figure out, and it might be a process going. So I'm just saying that I understand there may or may not be substantive or decisive answers tonight. So first one, Drew, since we, facilities utilization team was one of the early teams out. Once that rubric or framework is completed by that team, what's the next step on that? Where does that go?
So that might be a question for Dr. Meinert, but as far as we're concerned, we're going to help to, similarly to the strategic plan, we're going to help once that framework is finalized, sort of determine with that team how to communicate that resource, how to implement it with fidelity, and do our best to lend guidance as far as utilizing that framework goes. Dr. Meinert, I don't know if you want to chime in as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So once the work is done with their team, we will, or I would like to do a community roundtables conversation to see if that framework meets the needs of the community in terms of talking about school consolidations. It's very likely that school consolidations will be a part of the proposed budget this year, and certainly a discussion within the budget cycle. We anticipate the work of the facilities team to be done in November. That community forum and listening sessions could also be done in that November timeframe. And then, depending on what the board would like to do in terms of work sessions around school consolidations, I would recommend the board starts to have some of those work sessions prior to the budget cycle to give the board space to consider other cost savings measures that they'll need to take in this upcoming budget cycle.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Go ahead with your next. I'm not seeing anyone.
Okay. And I think that leads into, I can pull a couple of questions here together, because one of my deals is I'm very pleased that Ed Elements has been able to help us, and our community has been part of that, getting that initial data gathered. We do know it was under a tight time frame, and at the end of the school year where people are also heading out for summer vacations and things of that sort. So we had a respectable participation and different opportunities to not only get a survey with specific answers, but also the open-ended and the focus group. So I want to acknowledge that. And my interest is really how we continue to do this. Maybe bring a couple of questions together. When we talk about the draft of the domains, will each of those become a focus group of its own, similar to facilities has done? you mentioned listening sessions or community roundtables. As we go through both for the facilities questions, but also as we get the other pillars start to flesh out, we get drafts of a strategic plan into the spring, how with the plan or ideas at this point of making sure we get the community involved and we can grow that early number of involvements.
Yeah, excellent question. I'll take that initially, and then Drew can follow up with some detailed information after that. So our next in-person sessions for both the steering team and the facilities team are in late October. And both of those sessions are trying to get our prototypes to kind of a safe enough to share quality of work where we can start to take that out to the community and get feedback on both of those designs. And so I am hopeful right after those October sessions, probably in early November, that we would start to conduct some surveys and, some roundtables or listening sessions with the communities to get the community to get some initial feedback on the pillars and any work that's been done down through the pillars, as well as some of the draft mission and vision statements that the steering team is working on.
And follow up with that is, so that's a lot into that November, December, but appreciate we're doing, we're really trying to get it out to people, which I think is extremely important. In the spring, as those also begin to flesh out, we'll have additional possible sessions. I know we run into budget times and
yes,
conversations we want to have with the community on that, but
absolutely. I mean, the target end date for the creation of the plan isn't until the end of March. And so while we hope to wrap up the facilities portion of the conversation in November, the entire strategic plan will continue in and through March, and there'll be a variety of ways that we continue to engage the community to ensure that it's reflective of the community wants and needs of their schools here in Fairbanks.
Nothing prolific to add on my end, besides, well, maybe it's not prolific, but as these pillars of the strategic plan are finalized, we will sort of move into the next phase of the design process, where pillar teams or design teams, we used a couple different terms interchangeably, will really zoom in and focus on these particular areas. And we like to, when we're assembling those design teams, utilize folks who are A, really invested in that particular topic, and B, have a particular subject matter expertise that they'll be able to lend to it. So there's another layer of teaming that we're going to embark on for this particular process, in addition to the community engagement efforts that Dr. Miner shared as well. So it doesn't feel like, it feels like a long way away, but it's probably not going to feel like that as we get going. There's going to be plenty more opportunities, though, for the community to hear, see, and say what they hope to get out of these really important resources that are going to guide the direction of the district.
Mr. Doran?
I've got one more question then of comment to end with. I was really glad to hear, Drew, as you were talking there, and I know the conversation has been with the administration and the board also, that we don't want a binder that sits on a shelf or in a drawer. We want something that we can actually hold up and say, hey, here it is, and have that prompt our thinking and action. So I'm just looking towards the end, maybe drawing upon some of the experience that UNED Elements has had with other districts and our own thoughts here. Once the plan is approved, and where I'm coming from is having been involved in a number of strategic plans, sometimes it does wind up just in-house kind of, but I've also seen the model where then it was taken out to each community effectively, and had a chance to be presented, explained, talked about. So it is, so people get to see not only the beginning input stage, but they see that final product in a little bit more personalized way. So thoughts on that?
Could you clarify what you mean by taking the plan out to the communities?
So
individual communities, I think you said.
Okay. For our district, I would, again, I'm brainstorming in my head, picturing it, where we have a small group who would take it to perhaps every school community and be able to present it there, talk about this is the plan. And it's an opportunity for them to understand what went into the plan, what is in there for 5 years. And it's an opportunity to also get some feedback as the district will set priorities each of those years towards the end goals towards the end of 5 years. But it's basically giving people the close information of the plan itself.
I see.
I think Dr. Minor wanted to take a stab at that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to discuss that. I really see the beginning of the school year next year as kind of the unveiling of the plan. Certainly it'll be done in March and at the end of the year, but we'll still be working through what implementation looks like next year and kind of the key performance indicators that go along with that. And then I would imagine, while I don't think it's feasible to go to each individual school, at the beginning of the year in service for teachers, we'll go over bits and pieces of the strategic plan with all of our staff members. And then I would imagine maybe some regional conversations with parents around the strategic plan at our major hubs. So maybe one at West Valley, one at Lathrop, and one at North Pole in the fall, so that families and students and parents can hear a little bit more about the plan, how it's going to roll out in practice, and then where they can also find progress of the plan. And one of the strengths of Education Elements is the implementation phase. So they actually have a pretty robust tracking spreadsheet or database on the back end that once the key performance indicators are established for the district, that we can track our progress on each of those and either make some of them front facing for the community and some of them just rear facing for administration and our educators to work on.
Quick follow-up, unless, I don't know, Drew, if you were adding anything, I want to cut you off.
That was very well put. I have nothing to add.
Okay. Really appreciate that. And I think when we talk about to parents, again, that we just have in the hopper to the community at large, since their support is so important to our operation. And then if I could just finish with a quick comment.
Sure.
I know in testimony tonight, one of the things was mentioned is, sometimes having an outside facilitator. And I just want to say to the administration, the board leadership, and to Drew and at Elements, I think the value of that is that people can talk to Anna and Sarah and Drew when you guys have been up here, that not only do you bring a national perspective of what's going on because you're in conversations, active conversations with other districts, but it also means that perhaps people can more freely talk to you, put ideas on the table because they don't have to be concerned whether they're going to ruffle feathers or, whatever that may be. And I know my own experience in past strategic planning is that outside facilitator can be a very, very valuable tool. So I appreciate that we have your expertise coming to us and the leadership from within our district to say, yes, let's get this view and this facilitation. So
appreciate that. Thank you so much.
I'm not seeing anyone else with comments or questions. So thank you so much for staying up late to present with us, and looking forward to seeing you in a meeting soon.
Very good. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good evening.
The next item on our agenda is Resolution 2025-04, honoring Indigenous Peoples Day by proclaiming the second Monday in October, October 14th, 2024, as Indigenous Peoples Day, and encouraging staff and students to honor it through interactive research, classroom lesson plans, guest speakers, displays, lectures, practical activities, and cultural celebrations. This is an information report. It was passed as part of our agenda in the consent agenda, so there is not a motion needed. I know there's one listed, but we don't need motions for information and reports. Would Ms. Charlie like to read the resolution?
Sure, thank you. Resolution 2025-04, honoring Indigenous Peoples Day. Whereas Indigenous people have occupied the land that now constitutes the Fairbanks North Star Borough, and whereas the Fairbanks North Star Borough is built upon the homelands and villages of the Indigenous people of this region, without whom the existence of the borough would not be possible. And whereas students of Indigenous people's heritage are a significant population of the Fairbanks North Star Borough School District student body. And whereas exempt and classified staff of Indigenous people's heritage support all students' learning, and whereas educators of Indigenous people's heritage distinguish themselves as educators in Fairbanks North Star Borough School District classrooms, and whereas building administrators of Indigenous people's heritage have led their schools with vision, and whereas Indigenous peoples have served the school board with distinction, and whereas the Fairbanks North Star Borough of Education values the many contributions made to our community through Indigenous people's knowledge, labor, skills, monetary contributions, and the deep cultural contribution that has substantially shaped the character of the city of Fairbanks and the entire Fairbanks North Star Borough. And whereas the Fairbanks North Star Borough Board of Education opposes the systematic racism towards Indigenous peoples in the United States, which exacerbates disproportionate educational opportunities. And whereas the Fairbanks North Star Borough Board of Education promotes the closing of any achievement and equity gaps of Indigenous peoples through policy and practices, reflecting the experiences of Indigenous peoples, ensuring greater access and opportunity, and honoring our region's Indigenous roots, history, and contributions.
Thank you. Is there any?
Oh, it's not done. I'm
sorry.
Scrolling my computer. And whereas Indigenous Peoples Day was first proposed in 1977 by a delegation of Native nations to the United Nations sponsored International Conference of Discrimination Against Indigenous Populations in the Americas, and whereas in 2011, the affiliated tribes of the Northwest Indians, representing 59 tribes from Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Northern California, Western Montana, and some Alaskan tribes, passed Resolution 11-57 to support to change Columbus Day, the second Monday of October, to Indigenous Peoples Day. And whereas June 2017, the state of Alaska passed legislation establishing Alaska Statute 44.12.155, officially recognizing the second Monday of October of each year as Indigenous Peoples Day in Alaska, to be observed by suitable observances and exercises by civic groups and the public. Now therefore be it resolved, the Fairbanks North Star Borough Board of Education proclaims the second Monday in October, October 14th, 2024, as Indigenous Peoples Day, and encourages staff and students to honor it through research, classroom lesson plans, guest speakers, displays, lectures, practical activities, and cultural celebrations. Assistance with resources is available through the Alaska Native Education Program.
Thank you. Is there any board comments or discussion? Mr. Doran?
Thank you. And we've got three resolutions tonight, and so I'll encapsulate my comments to cover all three. But I'm very glad that we passed these as part of the consent agenda, and that we do take the time to bring these forward for people's attention. I know that as we have these resolutions, and particularly the three before is honoring Indigenous Peoples Day, the Attendance Awareness Month for October, and recognizing LGBTQ History Month, they also represent increasing my understanding and awareness and knowledge over the decades that I've been glad to impart and share with students and families, staff members. So I'm really glad that we do these, and these recognitions are really important.
Thank you. I am also appreciative of us passing and celebrating this resolution. And I do want to say that it is my intent that as we start revamping how we do resolutions, that we do a better job getting it out to our stakeholders so that they can be revised if they're part of the consent agenda. It's harder to do it from the dais. And so I would like to make sure that we do that in the future. Thank you so much, Ms. Charlie. And we will move to our next resolution. Resolution 2025-05, recognizing October 2024 as Attendance Awareness Month, and encourage all students to participate in Attendance Awareness Month activities and make attendance a priority throughout the academic year. Ms. Sanderson, would you please read the resolution?
Fairbanks North Star Borough Board of Education Resolutions 2025-05, establishing October as an Attendance Awareness Month in schools. Whereas attendance has been proven to be one of the most powerful predictors of academic achievement and can have a dramatic impact on the key milestones, including third grade reading, ninth grade achievement, high school graduation, and lifelong success. And whereas chronic absenteeism, defined as missing 10% or more of school days, have been shown to be detrimental effects on students' learning outcome and long-term educational perspectives, and whereas the goal of an attendance awareness resolution is not to promote or insist on perfect attendance, but rather focus on good or improved attendance and the correlation between regular school attendance and positive lifelong student outcomes. And whereas there are legitimate reasons for excused absences, including mental health, illnesses, this resolution is not meant to minimize the health challenges many families face when it comes to regular school attendance. And whereas improved attendance rates contribute to a positive school culture, enhance the learning environment for all students, and whereas recognizing the importance of promoting regular school attendance is essential for fostering a culture of responsibility and commitment to education. And whereas designating a specific month to focus on attendance awareness will provide schools with an opportunity to engage students, parents, educators, and the community in addressing and mitigating barriers to regular school attendance. And whereas the district will continue to partnering with community organizations, local businesses, and other stakeholders to promote attendance awareness and provide resources to families. And whereas schools will be encouraged to implement special programs, events, activities to educate students and parents about the importance of regular school attendance. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Fairbanks North Star Borough School District Board of Education, hereby establish the month of October as an Attendance Awareness Month in our schools. The Fairbanks North Star Borough School District, through the school board, encourages all schools to participate in the Attendance Awareness Month activities and to make attendance a priority throughout the academic year.
Thank you, Ms. Sanderson. Is there any board discussion on this resolution? Not seeing any, we will move on to our last resolution. Resolution 2025-06, recognizes October 2024 as LGBTQ History Month and promotes community where all students, staff, and community members feel supported and affirmed. Ms. Marati, would you please read the resolution?
I would love to. Fairbanks North Star Borough Board of Education Resolution 2025-04 honoring, oh, nope. Let's try that again. Resolution 2025-06 recognizing LGBTQ History Month. Whereas the Fairbanks North Star Borough School District does not discriminate on the basis of race, ethnicity, color, religion, creed, sex, age, national origin, physical or mental disability, marital status, changes in marital status, pregnancy, parenthood, sexual orientation, gender identity, disabled veteran, and other eligible veterans, or any other basis of discrimination prohibited by local, state, or federal law. And whereas numerous individuals in the LGBTQ community, globally, nationally, and locally, have made substantial contributions and accomplishments in our community. And whereas the LGBTQ community is a growing asset to the Fairbanks North Star Borough School District as students, staff, and parents. And whereas the Fairbanks North Star Borough School District strives to foster the protection and the involvement of diverse groups by allowing students to acknowledge the history, culture, and contributions of LGBTQ individuals, role models, and historical events from across the country and community. And whereas numerous studies assert that providing internal protections for LGBTQ students and staff members directly promotes academic and social success, as well as safety and security. And whereas the Fairbanks North Star Borough School District serves as a role model for inclusion, equity, protection, and representation for all of its students, staff members, and diverse communities. And whereas October is recognized as LGBTQ History Month to expose the prejudice and discrimination that LGBTQ people face based on sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression, and to celebrate their diversity and accomplishments from a source of empowerment and engagement. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Fairbanks North Star Borough Board of Education joins others in recognizing October 2024 as LGBTQ History Month and encourages schools throughout the district to promote a community where all students and staff feel supported and affirmed.
Thank you, Ms. Marati. Is there any board discussion or comments? Mr. Burgess.
I just wanted to say I'm really glad that this passed. We heard from our community tonight that this is something that is important to them and important to our LGBTQ students and staff. I did pick up on one piece of testimony tonight that suggests that the therefore be it resolved could be a little stronger in terms of providing some direction in the way that the Indigenous Peoples Day resolution does. And so looking at the difference here, I think that it's a great suggestion to encourage things like classroom lessons plans, research, guest speakers, and so forth. So I would say that it would be it might be worthwhile to workshop this a little bit, whether that's through the diversity committee or just some board action. I think that we could make those changes. Thanks.
Any other comments or discussions? I'm not seeing any. I agree. I think possibly having the diversity committee look at it again might be a good idea. We've got a year to make that happen, and we will have a new leader, unfortunately, of that committee because Ms. Marati will be leaving us. Our next item on the agenda is our action items, unfinished business. Article 0, Philosophies, Goals, Objectives, and Comprehensive Plans, second reading. Article 0 is proposed to be revised and is before the school board for a second reading and administration. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, public comment is now closed, and we will throw it to Ms. Dillard. Oh, wait, do you want a motion first? I guess. May I have a motion?
Move to approve second reading, public hearing, and adoption of Article 0.
Second.
Ms. Dillard.
Thank you, President Hardy. I don't have much to say to introduce this article that wasn't presented in the last first reading, but hopefully this is a second reading where we can finalize this new Article 2. Would you like me to go over the edits that were made from the last meeting? Or did you have?
It's not sounding like board members need a review. Is there any board discussion or comments or edits they would like to propose at this time? Mr. Doran.
I have no edit to propose. I love the faces across the board. But I do have a comment, so you can, you know. And I think it's part of the process that we've had the advantage of going through these different articles, but the conversations that have happened, and I know one of the edits that was made after first reading was to include the under goals for student learning that students will develop college, career, and then end life readiness. And so adding life readiness to that was good. But it did get me really thinking, and I just mention it, not that we need to do this now, but that especially as we go through strategic planning, et cetera, the value of these, it does prompt thinking. And the thought that has really hit me a lot is that it's really not just college, career, and life, and college and career is linked to the jargon of around standards and stuff of this sort, but it's really those post-secondary readiness, because college, whether it's college, an apprenticeship, taking a job, whatever, they help to prepare you for the career. College is not itself. But it's alongside of the other options that are there. We provide many options through our CTE program with some of our certifications, for instance, et cetera. So I just bring it to the fore that as we continue to look what we want for students, it's really what do they do when they leave us? How prepared are they to make a variety of choices? They may start a family, and come into the career, the work field later on, or start in one field and say, I've been a carpenter for 20 years. Now I want to become a teacher, you know, or whatever these may be. Just thinking in terms of post-secondary, career, and life readiness. So just an observation.
Thank you, Mr. Doran. I'm not seeing anyone else with comments, so Ms. Richardson, would you please call the vote?
Shannon,
Yes.
Colonel Foster,
Yes.
Colonel Cole,
Yes.
Miss Charlie,
Yes.
Mr. Doran,
Yes.
Burnett,
Yes.
Maple,
Yes.
Mr. Burgess,
Yes.
Yes.
Marati,
Yes.
Hardy.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Our next item is Article 1, Community Relations, second reading. Article 1 is proposed to be revised and is before the board for its second reading by the administration. May I have a motion?
Move to approve second reading, public hearing, and adoption of Article 1.
Second.
Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. Ms. Dillard, did you have anything?
No, no changes from anything that was discussed at the first reading.
Is there any board discussions, comments, or edits? Mr. Doran.
No edit, no comment.
No, this might be his.
I'm not seeing any comments from anyone else. So Ms. Richardson, would you please call the vote?
Miss Charlie,
Yes.
Mr. Shannon,
Yes.
Colonel Foster,
Yes.
Colonel Cole,
Yes.
Maradi,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
Mrs. Burnett,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Hardy.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Our next item on the agenda is the revised bond redirection of funds for North Pole Middle School. The Alaska Department of Education and Early Development, DEED, requires a board to adopt a bond redirection of funds in order to be considered for state grant funding. The administration is now submitting a revised bond redirection of funds for North Pole Middle School's exterior renovation Phase 2. The administration will speak to the plan.
Hello, good evening. Thank you so much for putting this on the agenda. I'm here to ask for a revised bond. I'm going to just read this out. The Facilities Management Department is requesting to redirect funding for the following projects. From the 2013 bond series, remaining funds from the North Pole Middle School Mechanical Energy Upgrades Project DR-14-106 equals to $1,453,279.12. We're asking for you to approve to redirect all the remaining funds to the North Pole Middle exterior renovation project. Number is not yet assigned. And also from the 2013 bond series, remaining funds from the Ryan Middle School replacement DR-14-102 equals to $1,056,709.63. Requesting to approve both to the North Pole Middle School and exterior renovation project to total $2,509,988.75. And I hope that you will approve this.
May I have a motion?
Move to adopt the revised bond redirection of funds for North Pole Middle School exterior renovation Phase 2.
Second.
I don't know who you're going to give that one to. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. Is there Ms. Burnett?
Thank you. Through the chair, I just for clarification purposes for the public, there's nothing left to do on these projects. This is remaining funds that we can utilize for this other thing. Nothing will come up that we could possibly need something for the projects we're taking this from, correct?
Correct. This is money that's left over, money from previous projects.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mr. Doran?
I think with that observation too, it's important that it speaks to kind of the efficiency of trying to use the funds to their best, and if they're not needed on a specific project, that we are able to use it for another complementary project. My question with it, could you just give us an update on how this fits in the CIP plan and whether this $2.5 million total, how close that finishes out the exterior renovation project?
The project hasn't started. We started for the funding in 2018. It was in the CIP since 2016, I believe. And because we had leftover money from the Ryan project and from the North Pole Mechanical project, we wanted to redirect it so that we can put that towards the EFIS project at North Pole Middle.
Follow.
Go ahead.
And so this 2.5 will cover how much of that exterior renovation?
It will cover all of the exterior renovation. That includes the windows, the siding, and the doors.
And am I correct also, um, since these are from previous middle school projects under the bonding, and I'm thinking for community understanding is um, they need to stay within middle school projects?
Not necessarily. It really depends on what the cost of the projects that we have on our CIP, and we just kind of use to see what we can utilize with that leftover money, and how we can use it to do a project. Because some projects are 8 million. If we've got 2 million left over, it doesn't make sense to move that. So we try to move it to a project that kind of fits within the budget.
Thank you.
Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, Ms. Richardson, would you please call the vote?
Colonel Cole,
Yes.
Miss Charlie,
Yes.
Shannon,
Yes.
Colonel Foster,
Yes.
Sanderson,
Yes.
Maradi,
Yes.
Yes.
Burnett,
Yes.
Maple,
Yes.
Yes.
Hardy.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried.
That brings us to the last item on our agenda, board and superintendent comments. And if advisory members would like to partake, they are willing to as well. Going down to Colonel Cole. Nope. Colonel Foster. Ms. Sanderson. Nope. Ms. Burnett.
I do.
Okay.
Excuse me, sorry. First off, I'd like to thank Dr. Miner for his superintendent's report earlier, especially on the health curriculum update. I am very thankful that we have our administration on this and making sure that we are compliant while also making sure that we do offer the necessary and most updated curriculum as things do change and update. I'd like to make sure I state for the public one more time as well that since we are still getting emails with reference to the pornographic videos and materials in our curriculum, that we do not have these things in our curriculum. I'd also like to make sure the public is aware that these supplemental websites were teacher resources only, but will now be put back through our very robust approvals process as Dr. Miner had laid out in his superintendent's comments, and I'm very thankful for that. I do believe, Dr. Miner, that this is a very big step forward in listening to families in our district and promoting that trust aspect, and so I appreciate that greatly. Thank you. When it comes to healthcare, please know that we do hear you. My insurance premiums, I know this is not even in comparison because they are not associated with the district, but they saw a rise in cost this year. So I understand where you're all at. And I please ask that you trust in our negotiations team and in our administration as they work through this with you. I really am stoked to hear that we have students in our Ed Rising program. I think this is a fantastic start to a great thing. I look forward to the day when we can offer this at all of our remaining high schools, as mentioned earlier, for our students. I fully support this program as it gives us a chance to help our students who want to become educators flourish into amazing ones who will give back to our students right here in our very own community. I'd like to thank those who came in and testified tonight on decorum during testimony. Even though there may have been a few snickers and chuckles, we can only do better when we lead by example and ignore the ones who choose to cling to negativity and poor decorum. So thank you. This week, football hits the road. Lathrop is headed down to Chugiak. Next week, they'll be back on home turf for their homecoming game versus Wasilla. West Valley High School just had their homecoming game, and what an amazing night it was. From all the students attending the game to the floats and festivities, it truly was an amazing game on Friday, and it was just a great week over there at West Valley High School. Now West Valley heads down to Palmer, and they'll be back on home turf for senior night next Friday versus Chugiak. North Pole will head down to Eagle River to take on the Wolves. Good luck and safe travels to all the teams that are headed out of town this weekend. Last but not least, early voting is now open at the Shoppers Forum Mall. If you are curious about the seats that are open for our very own board here, tomorrow, West Valley High School will be having their school board candidate forum. They stream live on YouTube and will be at West Valley High School, right there in the small auditorium up front, starting at 9:30. In closing, I know we still have a meeting or two before Miss Sanderson and Miss Marati step down, but I would like to take a second and just sincerely thank them for their service and their sacrifice in the name of our students and our district. So thank you, ladies.
Ms. Charlie? Nothing. Ms. Marati?
Yep. For the last time as a school board member, I want to recognize the LGBTQ history resolution and speak the names of some historically significant members of the LGBTQ community. Sir Francis Bacon, the father of the scientific method. Alan Turing, the namesake behind the Turing machine, which is the basis for all computers. Sally Ride, the first American woman in space. And locally, Liz Like, former Fairbanks North Star Borough Assembly member. The late Kathy Otterston, former Fairbanks City Council member. Representative to Ashley Carrick, State of Alaska House District 35 representative. Meredith Maple, current school board member. And these are just a few people that have made a significant impact on our nation, our state, and our community. And as a member of the LGBTQ community, I am grateful for a school district that recognizes the inherent worth and dignity of our queer students and staff, and to a board for unanimously supporting this resolution for the very first time since I've been a board member. Thank you all.
Mr. Shannon? Ms. Maple? Mr. Burgess?
I just want to point out that Miss Marati, in her humility, left herself out of that list of people. So thank you, Miss Marati. Other than that, Miss Burnett pretty much covered everything I was going to say, so I won't repeat it. But I do very much appreciate the public testimony. It was a good turnout tonight. I'm sorry that our agenda doesn't usually allow us to get to everyone. I really encourage people to keep showing up like that, keep paying attention to what's going on the agenda, and raising your voices civilly and respectfully, whether you're bringing praise, criticism, or something else. And thank you for celebrating our schools, our staff, and our students as well. On the healthcare costs, I do want to say that we do hear you, and I know that this timeline feels really rushed. The administration, I believe, feels the same way, and it's a tough position that we're all in. I'm hoping that the unions and the administration can work together in a positive way to solve the issues together. And I want to note, too, that we're in this situation, like all of the tough situations that we as a school district have been facing for the past several years. We're in this situation because of a lack of adequate funding from the legislature and the governor. We need to keep up our advocacy at the state level and make sure that in this election in November, we elect education heroes, people who will stand up for funding public education. So with that said, I just want to also express my sincere appreciation for the support that I have been receiving and my wife over the past couple weeks. I cannot overstate how much that has helped during this challenging time. I really hope that folks continue to raise their voices, continue to show up in these rooms, and continue to show the entire community what our values really are, what our Alaskan values are, what our Fairbanks North Star Borough values are, and what your values are as an individual. It's our responsibility as a citizen, as citizens, to do that, and I hope that everyone does so to the extent that it is possible for them. I know it's challenging, but please show up whenever you can. Please keep paying attention. Please raise your voices. And I just wanted to point out for any who like astronomy, tonight is a full moon. It is supposed to be a little cloudy, but it's not just a full moon, it's a super moon. So if you have a chance, there's a break in the cloud cover, get out there, look up, and enjoy the view. Thanks.
Mr. Doran.
And so can I start by repeating everything that Mrs. Barnett said and then hitchhiking on Mr. Burgess? No, okay, my own comments. Did want to, again, affirm some of what we heard in testimony about the running clubs and the students. We have a couple more weeks that they will be out. I believe this Thursday they're at Salcha, and then I think they have one more at Chena Lakes. But it is truly impressive to go to those running meets. The hundreds of students, probably 1,000 parents and supporters and grandparents and community members that are there, but all the effort that goes in, some of it is volunteers from the community. A lot of it is volunteers and staff support. And it is just amazing to watch those little kids take off and appear out of the woods. But everybody cheering every student on. It's not a matter of saying they're just looking for their child or their grandchild, but they're clapping for every kid that comes by. And I think that says an awful lot for our community. So thanks to all of those who do the organization of it, as well as all those who make the effort and are able to go out and cheer them on. Just on the funding, I did appreciate the comments that were made. The healthcare premium increases that we're facing as a district is, and it's both on the district side as well as the employee sides. They were quite startling. And as Mr. Burgess said, that it's just one of the many examples of costs are going up. And oftentimes when we open a bill, whether it's a utility bill or our own insurance bills or whatever, medical bills, grocery bills, things have increased. And funding for education has not. And as we enter this election season, I just encourage people, whatever candidate you support, really ask them about their commitment to public education and will they really support investing in public education. If we have one-time funding, we start with a deficit for next year until the legislature acts. So it's really important who goes down there, that they're willing to stand up for our children, our schools, and our community. So at least ask them where they stand and then make your decision from there, because funding simply has not kept up with the cost of operations. And I want to end with saying a thank you for all those who testified tonight. There, from my perspective, a real palpable change in tenor and tone, whether people felt that they were agreeing with us or disagreeing with us or certain members or whatever. People, I thought, really were tried to make sure they maintained a respectful approach and didn't get into personalizations, gave their opinion, and it's important that we do hear from throughout our community the various perspectives. And so I just really want to say thank you for our community trying to be mindful as we move forward. And as many people said, what is really reflective of our community, our Fairbanks being as a borough, because we have different cities in there, that we do reach out to take care of each other. to help each other out and to make our community a great place for kids to grow up and have good adult models. So thank you.
I think everyone just about covered it. The only thing I will add is reinforcing that we have now created a space for students to come and testify right at the top of our public testimony, and we would love to hear more student voices. So please take us up on using that time. We want to hear from you. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
We are adjourned.